Now, there are really three known effects that laser light has when it interacts with tissue. The first and the best of those effects, the ones that we really like the best, is a photochemical effect. And this is what we saw when we watched Star Trek in the past, where Scotty would pull out his laser and shoot someone and they would disappear. Now what's happening with this, as the ultraviolet light pulse hits the tissue, it actually causes disruption of molecular bonds. Each pulse, we give up to 80 pulses per second, but each pulse is of 125 nanoseconds, and it fractures billions of these molecular bonds. This really creates debris that we don't measure in millimeters or microns, but it's actually molecular debris. So this is very much the cleanest of all the effects. But herein lies one of the most important parts about using a laser. I've mentioned we can give up to 80 pulses per second, and each of those pulses is of 125 nanoseconds. So we know two things are happening. One, even at the highest repetition rate, which is 80, the laser is off 99% of the time and only firing about 1% of the time. Secondly, if we do the mathematics, each pulse can penetrate roughly 100 microns. We're giving 80 pulses per second. So if we convert this to millimeters, we can only photochemically ablate 0.8 millimeters a second. And herein lies the single biggest problem in terms of training physicians to use the laser. You must advance it very, very slowly. If it is advanced quickly, it does not have the best effect, which is this photochemical effect. Now, the second effect of excimer laser is actually a photothermal effect. If I were to take the ultraviolet lasers and put them in saline and turn them on, there's no heat whatsoever. But that's not totally true in the human body when we use it. And the reason this is not totally true is this energy is absorbed by the proteins, predominantly nuclear proteins, and it is shared as microwave energy or vibrational energy with surrounding molecules, the most prevalent of which is water. And this actually creates a steam bubble. And so you can say, well, gee whiz, this isn't cool because steam is very hot. If I put my finger over steam, it burns. Yet I can tell you experiments have shown that we never see catheter tip temperatures exceed 50 degrees centigrade. How is this achieved? Well, it has to do with heat sink. And it's a very important physics phenomenon to understand. If I were to take a candle and light that candle and put my finger above the candle, I would burn my finger. But if I were to light that same candle and rapidly run my finger across, I could do this all day long and I would not burn my finger. The reason is the heat is not having a chance to concentrate itself. And that's why we cannot measure very high temperatures at the catheter tip. So if we were giving this as constant energy, we would achieve temperatures of 100 degrees centigrade, which is very hot. That's boiling. But because the laser is pulsing on and is off 99% of the time, it's exactly analogous to flicking your finger across the flame of the candle very, very quickly, much more quickly than we could easily flick our fingers. Therefore, we do not have this heat effect. And then there is a third effect of laser, and this is the photomechanical effect. Now, this is a direct result of the photothermal effect because we get a vapor bubble, and this vapor bubble expands and collapses, and we can use this to sweep away debris. But we know the following. We know that if we summate all the effects of laser, photochemical, photothermal, and photomechanical, all summated together, we still cannot ablate any faster than 1 millimeter per second. So it is crucial to understand when using the laser to go slow. And I tell people the first 3 rules of laser are slow, slow, and slow. Because I think more than anything else, these are crucial issues that people have to pay attention to. Now, where do I use this? Well, I like to think of things in simple terms. And I use this for plaque and tissue vaporization, which I view as a contact phenomenon. This is as the laser contacts those tissues. I use it for thrombectomy, which is both a contact and a vapor bubble phenomenon. I use it for lead removal, and I think unequivocally now data is supporting that this is the most effective way to remove damaged or infected pacemaker leads. And I use it for crossing total occlusions. In the coronaries, I use it when a guide wire crosses, nothing else will follow. And in the periphery, I often use so-called step-by-step technique, where I will actually lead with the catheter to actually cross totally occluded vessels. We're relying on the phenomenon of a relatively straight segment of vessel and this device finding the true lumen.